If you're confused about how to do sets and reps in a workout, then this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do sets so you can get in there and start working out. Now, there are several different ways to go about doing sets and reps. So let's break down each of them and I'll tell you which ones I think are best for beginners. Let's talk about straight sets first. Straight set is when you perform an exercise with the same amount of weight for each set. So if you're trying to do 3 sets of 12 with dumbbell rows, then you might do something like this. All 3 sets, 50 pounds for 12 reps. Now, in reality, if you're really pushing yourself, some of the time you're going to start losing reps after your first set. So it might look something like this. The point is you're keeping the weight constant across all your working sets. They're also an excellent way to fully exhaust muscle groups, which makes them excellent for physique and bodybuilding purposes. Now let's talk about ramping sets. A ramping set is when you perform an exercise while moving up in weight each set, but keeping the reps constant. So if you're doing 5 sets of 5 for the bench press, let's say, now you see that throughout all these sets, the weight is going up, but the reps remain the same. Of course, the goal with ramping is to keep the reps constant, but sometimes you might fall short of your reps on the last set or two. One difference between ramping and straight sets is ramping allows for a lot more maximal strength development. When you're ramping, the top set is going to be by far the most challenging set because it's the highest weight. And ramping up allows you to lift heavier weights than you would be able to with straight sets. Now let's talk about pyramid sets. Now there are a bunch of different types of pyramid sets, so I'm just going to run through a few of them really quickly. I'm sure you've heard of pyramid sets, and if you're new to them, they can seem pretty confusing, so let me demystify them for you. Standard pyramid sets are when you perform an exercise starting with high reps and lower weight, and then increasing the weight and lowering the reps with each subsequent set. So if you're doing 4 sets of dumbbell rows, it might look something like this. So this is pretty simple and self-explanatory. Now, reverse pyramid sets are when you perform an exercise starting with heavier weight and lower reps, and then you decrease the weight and increase the reps with each subsequent set. So it's the reverse of standard pyramiding. So it might look something like this. So again, it's literally just the reverse of pyramid sets. You're starting heavy with lower reps, and you're slowly increasing the reps as you decrease the weight. Now, the benefit of this type of pyramid set is that it allows you to train an exercise in several different rep ranges, and that can be really beneficial to give you a nice overall training effect. Now, the other way to do pyramid training is something I used to do a lot when my workouts were a lot more high intensity. Now, with this method, you ramp up in weight each set, but you also decrease the reps until you get to your heaviest set. Then you do one top set all out for as many reps as possible. So you can think of most of the sets leading up to that as just warm-up sets or maybe even priming sets. So it might look like this. So one reason I like these is because they really allow you to push your strength to new limits. I mean, you can make gains relatively rapidly with this style of training, but beware, you're going to quickly run into plateaus. It's a very high intensity method of training, and trying to maintain that over a long period of time is not going to be easy for most people. And you just can't always make improvements every time when you're going that intensely. Now, of course, there are other ways of doing sets in a workout, but these are the primary methods if you really want to build muscle and strength. So which type of sets should you do? Well, beginners should focus primarily on straight sets because they allow you to work with a particular weight across multiple sets. This means you can practice perfecting your technique without having to increase the weight, which is when form usually breaks down. The thing about ramping and pyramiding sets is that they both involve lifting heavier weights more intensely, and beginners just don't have the type of neural adaptivity or technical expertise to do that effectively and safely yet. So if you're a beginner, stick with straight sets for a while before moving on to another set and rep scheme. Now, that being said, if you have a tiny bit of experience under your belt, you can definitely combine these approaches. So you can do 1 or 2 exercises using ramping and or pyramiding, and then do the rest of the exercises for your day in a straight set fashion. But feel free to be creative with this. But remember, no matter what type of set you choose to do, always remember to warm up properly and thoroughly beforehand. Never jump into your working sets without properly warming up first. So if you're doing 3 straight sets of 12, then do at least a couple of sets with lighter weights before you start your 3 sets. In order to make these sets work, you need to apply the #1 training principle, progressive overload. Go watch my video where I break down exactly what progressive overload is and how to do it using concrete examples which are easy to understand.